Welcome to another episode of Come Back Stronger. My name is Jimmy Fasig, and I'm here with my law partner, Dana Brooks. Hello. And we are here to tell inspirational and motivational stories of people who have overcome overwhelming odds and have come back stronger.
That's right.
So I'm excited about JaQuesha today. Yep. We're going to tell the story of JaQuesha Jefferson, who has overcome some serious challenges. And what did you think about JaQuesha?
Oh, I think about bless her heart. Because she is a young woman. She was just starting her, adult life away from her family to where she could start college. She's got such a bright future ahead of her. She's a pre-medical student at the University of Central Florida. She was a bright scholar, graduated Wakulla High with over 4.0 GPA, and she just had everything going. She had the wind at her back, and she had great family support and that sort of thing. And then she got sick. And she wasn't expecting that. So the way she handled that, and that was a lot to put on a young woman, especially during COVID, where you don't always have the people around you that you need. So I thought it was a show about resilience. I really did.
Well, I am excited for everybody to meet JaQuesha because one of the big things that I am always pushing is to set a goal, to set a master goal, to have a mission in your life. And the beauty of JaQuesha is, despite everything she went through, she had a goal, she had a mission, and I believe it was the strength of having that focus and having that mission that pulled her through. So I can't really wait for you all to hear this story. We are going to go right now to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to listen to the first segment of JaQuesha's story.
Great story.
I recently had a new client, and she suffered a mild traumatic brain injury. Okay. And she had no idea what had happened that caused her to be injured.
Gotcha.
But it turns out she had fallen into a pit at an oil change station. And it was 100% their fault.
Oh, wow.
But
her injury made her not even understand
her injury, and
it
makes me so frustrated because folks that suffer concussions or mild traumatic brain injuries, it's really difficult for them to know what happened and to understand the difference in what their life was and what it is now because of the nature of their condition. And so the insurance companies need to recognize the full value of that.
Instead of taking advantage of that very unique situation.
It took her family telling her, you need to call an attorney. Her family coming with her to the appointment to say, these are the differences, to get her in there, and now we're able to help her.
I love that.
Welcome back to another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we're today listening to the story of JaQuesha Jefferson. And JaQuesha is about to be interviewed by our law partner coming up right now.
JaQuesha Jefferson.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for being on the Come Back Stronger show with us. You have a really interesting story. You're 19 and you're at UCF.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And you're on a path to become a doctor.
Correct.
But as I understand it, you hit a pretty significant road bump recently with your health.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So starting in about October of last year, I noticed that I was getting a little protrusion within my stomach. But being that I'm a college student, I work a lot, between school, I don't eat the best. So with that, I was just thinking, it was occasional weight gain. So as time progressed, I kind of kept note of it, got a waist trainer, even though I'm only 110 pounds. Got a waist trainer to possibly see, if that would help. But I would still notice that the top part of my body was getting skinnier, but the bottom part was still protruding. So that was my first note that, okay, maybe, this might be something different. So then after me working out pretty hard, I noticed that I would get on the scale and literally my body weight was going down. And so I was down to 105 pounds at one point in time, but I still had the protrusion in my stomach. So that was the second part. I'm like, okay, this isn't right. So then finally, before I decided to go to urgent care, I called my mom and told her that my back was hurting me really badly, but I was thinking it was just from me working so much at one point in time and studying hard for finals, that it was just, a little bit of stress, possibly, something with the back issue. So she's like, well, baby, you have medical insurance, it's no reason for you to just sit in pain. Go to the doctor.
Were you down at UCF at the time?
No, I was in Tallahassee. I've been in Tallahassee since March. So that was, the good part about it. At least I wasn't really far from home when it happened.
So this was all during the pandemic too?
Yes.
Okay.
So that made things, that would make me more reluctant because I was scared to go in because I didn't want to go in there and then possibly contract COVID. And then with the fact of it being a lot of times doctors right now are trying to do telehealth visits, that kind of makes it a little harder to get in as well. So I couldn't get in with my actual physician. So I had to go to urgent care. So I went to urgent care, and upon me going to urgent care, I go in, and the doctor is like, well, ma'am, are you pregnant? So I laugh. I'm like, no, sir, I'm not pregnant at all. He's like, okay, we're going to run an HCG test just to make sure that you're not pregnant. I'm like, okay. So they come back in. No, your test came back negative, but upon me doing an examination, I see that you have a very large mass in your stomach. So with me already being, a pre-med student, mass, I automatically connotate with that with cancer.
Right.
So I'm already like, okay, I'm calling my mom, like, I need you to come up here now because, with me being 19, she's kind of trying to give me that little leeway, you're going into an adult, so just call me if you need me. And at that point in time, I'm getting stressed beyond measure.
Of
so
course.
I'm like, Mom, please come up here now. So she's coming, and then especially with her hearing mass, she's getting scared as well.
Of course. And weren't you in the middle of finals too?
Yes, in the middle of finals week, so my stress is already through the roof. They took my blood pressure. I was like, your blood pressure's a little high. I'm like, don't worry, it's just finals. Like, it's nothing too bad. So then after I got that, and they were able to determine that it was a mass, they sent me to get an ultrasound done. So upon me getting the ultrasound done, they could concur that I did have a large mass in my stomach, but they couldn't see what the mass was. So from there, they then referred me to go to Radiology Associates and get another scan done. So I had to go to Radiology Associates, and then because I had to get the scan done, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. So I had to spend about 2 extra hours at Radiology Associates just because I'm so small. I have small veins. With me not having any fluids or anything in my system, it was hard for them to get blood. So I'm just crying in the moment because I'm like, I need to get back to school. Like, I don't, this is kind of interfering with my plans right now. I already had to set, I'm a person that literally, I have a planner. I have my planner set from the beginning of the semester to the end.
Okay.
And the only time that anything changes is my work schedule.
And this was not on your schedule?
At all, at all.
Well, and not only are you a college student and in finals and 19 years old, but you're also pre-med. So you're taking a very, very heavy and hard caseload.
Yes. Last semester, I took Chemistry 2 along with Physics 1. I'm also a lead scholar at UCF as well.
What's that mean?
A lead scholar is a program where we heavily focus on volunteer service hours. So you had to apply for the program, be in great academic standing with your previous high school. It's a 2-year program. So you had to have an outstanding GPA and also exemplify your service hours in high school.
Wow.
Yes.
Where did you go to high school? Wakulla?
Yes, Wakulla High School.
What was your GPA when you graduated?
My GPA when I graduated Wakulla was a 4.3.
Dang.
So I was up there.
So you are an overachiever.
Yes.
And very organized.
Correct.
And this kind of knocked you on your butt.
Yes, it was definitely something that I'm always planning.
Right.
So when this happened, that was really the hardest portion of it for me to wrap my head around, was that I'm a person that always plans.
Yeah.
But this is with anything in life, and my mom tells me I need to work on it. I'm very not good with, little things coming in and knocking me off my feet, which is, I feel like, why I'm glad it happened to me, because it helped me build resiliency.
That's
so
true.
from this, after me getting the ultrasound done and me getting the scan done, they were able to tell me that I had a large mass, and they were able to tell that it was something that had attached itself literally from the top of my ovaries, starting at about the top of my stomach, all the way back to my kidneys.
Wow, that's
So
big.
yes, so it was pushing on my kidneys, causing my kidneys to have hydronephrosis, which basically means that my kidneys were dehydrated. Because I was telling my mom I was very thirsty and my back was hurting. And, those are typical signs of UTI. So I was like, usually ladies get those all the time, so that's just what it is. But it wasn't that. They were telling me that's what the cause of it.
So did they take it out?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
So finally, after me talking to them, they told me that it was a cystic teratoma, which basically was a tumor in itself. They didn't know if it was cancerous or not. They just had to wait until I had the procedure done. But because I had waited so long, the tumor was close to rupturing.
Wow.
So I had to go on a leave of absence from my job because they had to put me on bed rest just to make sure that the tumor did not rupture from the time that they found it to the time I could get in for
Oh my
surgery.
God, yeah, because that could have killed you.
Yes. So just hearing that all at one time, this is in the span of 3 days. I went in literally the day before, the 3 days before, just college student working, just doing my stuff. Oh, UTI. Now here I am 3 days later. I have a cystic teratoma that's close to rupturing. I have to stay off of work for this amount of days. I have to get surgery. Have to wait to find out to get surgery. So it was really just a guessing game. I have never prayed so much in my life. I literally was just, it was a moment in my life where I kept trying to ask myself, why me? But it helped me change my thinking to not ask why me, but why not me? What can I get from this to help build myself for the future?
That's a really good point. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about that.
Okay.
That is so huge. What an amazing young woman.
Yeah.
And what I love about JaQuesha is that she decided that why not me? Why shouldn't I get something out of this so I could give something back?
Yeah.
And I find it extremely fascinating with her story and with so many others that you always ask the question, it's easy to ask the question when something horrible happens, why do bad things happen to good people?
Right.
And I'm firmly of the belief that bad things happen to good people because they're learning the lessons that they need to learn to become their most powerful, their most awesome self.
Yeah.
And in this case, it is fascinating that she was going to be a doctor.
Still is.
It's still going to be a doctor, but imagine how much better of a doctor she's going to be now that she has had the experience of having to go through what she's been through.
That is so important. It's so important. And one thing I really like about her is she reminds me so much of our clients, our personal injury clients. She reminds me of one in particular, and that came to us, and she had a very scary health problem, very adult stuff to be dealing with as a young adult. Still making your way in the world, and so I'm really impressed whenever they can find whatever they need within themselves to deal with very, very adult problems at a very young age. And so she was not about to let this derail her and get her off her path to becoming a healer herself and a health caregiver herself. So I'm excited to see the rest of it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you have any doubt that this young woman is going to be a masterful doctor?
No, she's probably going to be a medical director,
oh my
doctor,
gosh.
healer, all that stuff.
I cannot wait to see what she does with her life, and I cannot wait to see the next segment. So we're gonna go to a commercial, and when we come back, we're gonna see the second segment of this episode.
Can't wait.
You know what's funny? When law firms advertise that they'll give a free consultation, every consultation we give is free, unless we can get you a settlement based on your injuries.
Right.
Every time you give me a call, it's free.
Yeah.
I want you to give me a call.
Yeah.
We're not going to charge you unless we actually get you something for your case.
That's right. You don't have to pay me anything unless I win the case.
Right.
And on top of that, I'm going to pay for all of the court costs and the deposition costs and medical records costs and expert opinion costs. All of that's coming out of my pocket, and if we don't win the case, then we eat those costs at no charge to you.
Right. So we don't take a case we don't believe in because it's not in our interest.
Right.
And we don't minimize or devalue your case because that's also not in our interest. Right. So it makes everything fair.
If you have a lawyer on a contingency fee, you can hire the very best lawyer. Welcome back again to Come Back Stronger, where we're hearing about JaQuesha Jefferson and her amazing comeback story. We are about to go to the next segment, and after that, we'll come back and wrap it up.
So JaQuesha, tell me about your surgery. What date did it happen on? Was it cancerous? How big was it? Tell me about that.
So the surgery happened on November 15th. Upon me waking up from surgery,
Again, in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes, in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh my
so
gosh.
that also brings me to my next point. I could only have one family member up there at a time. So I have my mom and my dad. My parents are married. They've been married for 20 years, so they're very active within my life. But I also have a great support system. I have a village behind me. So it was very hard, at that point in time. They also, at one point in time, first were saying that I couldn't have anyone come in at all. So that was hard for me because I'm 19 years old and all this is going on at one time. I need my mom at least.
Yeah.
So upon me waking up, they told me that They had to take out my ovaries and my appendix because the tumor literally had embedded itself into both of those.
Wow.
So me being 19 years old, only having one ovary, that I cried instantly.
So they took out one ovary and your appendix?
Yes. And
okay. So they did a big surgery?
Yes. It literally was a 9-inch cut. It was incision from basically one hip to the other hip.
Wow.
So the tumor was 8 pounds. So it's literally like, it makes sense as to why I was having so much pain because it was literally weighing my body down, especially that I'm such of a small,
It was almost like a tenth of your body weight.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So upon that, they had me on hydrocodone and oxycodone. So it was really, really, really strong medicine.
Very painful,
yes,
though.
And a lot of the side effects were that they were automatically going to make you want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Want to go to sleep to try to help ease the pain, but it wasn't working for me because, like I said, I was in the middle of finals week. I didn't have time to be doing that. So thankfully, my teachers
Ain't
were
nobody got time for a tumor or
Yes,
surgery or
exactly.
oxy or any of that stuff.
Right. So
Wow.
my teachers were very, very accommodating, which was amazing during that point in time because I was automatically thinking I was going to have to do a medical withdrawal. And
Because you were already away from your campus here doing school online.
Yes.
And you were working. Where were you working at
I
the
work
time?
at Walmart.
Okay.
Yes. So
My
it was a lot
goodness.
going on at one time, and just me being in so much pain. I mean, I have never experienced a pain like that in my life because literally you never know how much you use your torso and your abdominal area until it's in pain. Getting out the bed, using the bathroom, even sitting down to use the bathroom was so hard. I mean, from the surgery, it was causing me to have a lot of constipation. So that on top of it, when I finally was able to use the restroom, it just hurt so bad because this whole area was just so I've never,
painful.
it was so painful.
Well, like you said, you were cut from hip to hip.
Yes.
So how did you get back into finals? How did you recover from all that?
So basically what I had to do was just fight through. I just would give myself, I had to take the medicine every 6 hours. So I give myself a 6-hour window period to be able to get as much as I could get done. And then after that 6 hours, I would be drained. It was like I didn't have any more fight in me. So I would take my medicine every 6 hours. And then from there, when I would get done with that 6-hour work period, I would take my medicine and I would be knocked out for about 6 hours. So it would be sometimes I would wake up at 1 in the morning because that was my next portion and just work on my work from 1 in the morning until about 7. And then from 7, take my medicine. And it was just, it was a hard time, but it just helped me build resiliency. It helped me build that determination. And it really made me realize that medicine is what I want to do. This is my profession. This is what I have to do. So I had to stay off of work for 8 weeks for me healing. So that was already a battle because internally I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back. I have all these bills. I don't want my credit to be shot and I'm already 19. But thankfully my parents were able to support me during that time. And then I just was able to work back from that. But I was able to finish my finals successfully, ended up with all A's and a B.
Of course you did.
That was just...
and you did it. Let me just make sure I understand this. You did it by skipping your pain medicine to give yourself 6-hour windows of time so you could do your schoolwork. And then you would take your medicine and then essentially pass out.
Yes.
And sometimes you had to be up from 1 to 7 in the morning because that was the window when you didn't have your medicine on board.
Correct.
Wow, goodness gracious.
So it just got to be that point in time, when you realize this is really what you want to do, you know. You can't sit back and let it pass you by. Yeah, it happened, but you just kind of, you got to fight from
Muscle through it.
Yeah. So from that, I finally got through it, went back to work starting at the beginning of January of this year. Finished my finals perfectly. So everything ended up good. It just was an opportunity for me to really sit back and see, well, how can I help others, through this? So with me being a lead scholar at UCF, we have to do 75 community service hours.
A semester?
Yes.
That's a lot.
On top of working full time. But I decided that one thing that I wanted to do was to be able to go back in the community and be able to help others, just in case they're having issues like that, and let people know that don't sit back and wait like I did.
Right.
Because the one thing that I regretted through it all is that I wish I would have, as soon as I noticed something different, I should have went to the doctor then.
Been more proactive.
Yes, been more proactive on it. And instead of sitting back and just, well, giving this excuse and that excuse and letting the daily stressors of life come before my health. So one thing that I've been very predominant on with this year with my service is going back in the community and helping, educate others on listening to your body, evaluating your body, and if you see anything wrong or different about your body, be sure that you go to your health physician. If you don't, have access to that, urgent care, even things like medical clinics, Bond Community Clinic is a good one. There are a lot of different areas in Orlando. Even on our campus with UCF, we're able to get health care from different workers from there. So just kind of encouraging people to be more self-aware.
Yeah.
Especially students, because a lot of time us students, we get so involved in trying to get that A and trying to do this, trying to go to this extracurricular event that we don't even take care of ourselves.
Right.
And we kind of are so focused on our future that we're not in our present. So I definitely have been doing that to kind of stay within it. And I've also just...
How has it made you more resilient? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's definitely made me more resilient because it has shown me that, as I told you before, a lot of times I had trouble with being knocked off of my plan.
Yeah.
I would plan like I said, I literally had my schedule planned out from January until April.
I'm like the same way.
Yes.
I'm very similar.
So it taught me how to be more able to conform to what is going on every day instead of letting things get to me. So now, for instance, it has made me better as a student because I used to be a student. I would wait kind of until 11:59 to do my work, but now I always do my work at least 2-3 days ahead, just because you never know what's going on. Just recently I had to go to the doctor, but I was able to be okay with my schoolwork because I had already did my work up to 2 or 3 days in advance, just in case something like this happened. And then the only time I had to send them my excuse was because we had a test coming up and it was going to mess up my study schedule. But definitely making me more resilient in that aspect, and also knowing that life throws things at you, but don't let life get the best of you.
Right.
Make your life how you want it to be.
That's awesome.
Yes,
I love
ma'am.
that message, and I hope everybody watching hears that message and remembers that. I'm so impressed with you, and I can't wait to see where life takes you, what type of doctor you become. I just love it. So thank you for sharing with us and for giving us your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
So much to unpack from that story. Oh my gosh. She's
What a
awesome.
leader.
Yeah.
what a leader she is. What I was thinking whenever she's talking about at the end about how, you have everything planned out and you have your schedule, reminded me of basically every mother.
Yeah.
You kind of have your day planned and you have your children's day planned or whatever, then all of a sudden somebody's sick. Or all of a sudden somebody falls off, the jungle gym, has a broken arm, and that just upsets your whole apple cart, and you just have to just regroup. But women are very good at that. Mothers are very good about that. But she's learning at a very early age how to be agile and how to roll with the punches, and she's going to have to do that as an adult in any capacity, but certainly as a doctor, because not every healthcare situation presents the same. You've got to be thinking outside the box, looking for zebras sometimes instead of just horses. So I think she's getting a real good preparation for being a healthcare professional.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's also going to help her counseling her patients.
Yeah.
One thing I love that she said is that life throws things at you, but don't
does.
let life get the best of you.
Yeah.
I always like to say that you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control which direction you're going.
Yeah, you can always control your response to it.
You can always control your response to it. And in her case, I love that she said, listen, the pain medication is not going to work for me.
No.
I'm sorry. That's not going to work for me. I got other things to do. And she did what she had to do. It was really, really great story.
And you can do that. I think people are learning that more so now with the opioid crisis, of really trying to help people manage pain in other ways. Sometimes breathing exercises alone. Sometimes, you plan it like this and you just gut it through when you have to, knowing that you only have to do it a few hours and you can get some relief. But I like that she didn't just give over to the condition and to just taking the pills, as prescribed. She's like, no, I got to get my life back. So
she had a mission, and nothing was going to stop her, and nothing is going to stop her. Well, we're gonna go to a commercial, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more of the takeaways from JaQuesha's story.
I went to lunch with one of my former clients the other day, and she's doing great. She took the money from her settlement and she started her own company buying and selling vehicles, which is really cool because she was in a car crash and then needed a new vehicle. And so now she's able to help other folks out.
Most of our clients, they find that one of the most frustrating things is the dealing with the vehicle.
Oh, well, losing your car can totally disrupt your life.
You can lose your livelihood over it. If you can't get to work, or what's the worst thing with our clients is we're just trying to help them get well, but if they can't get to the health care that they need, that's just another setback.
One of the typical things about a comeback story is you take the
pain and the struggles and the challenges that you've been through, and you use that as the fire that kind of motivates you to do something good for other people.
Yeah.
And so I love that, because now our client did exactly that, like literally to the T. Well, we're back with another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we have listened to JaQuesha Jefferson. She is so awesome. She's such a powerful person. She's going to be an amazing doctor. But I got to tell you, what it makes me think of, Dana, is the idea of thinking about your life as a story.
Yeah.
And the power behind that, because for example, I'll give you an example. I believe that every single person, every injury, every obstacle, every setback is an opportunity for us to come back wiser and stronger, and to use that strength to help other people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the story that we just heard with JaQuesha.
Yeah, and to look at it, I try to tell people to look at it this way, because a lot of people will look at certain periods in their lives that were not good or not productive, and they'll think that that was a fail.
Yes.
You know, I'm not good at that. I had a failed marriage, so I'm not someone who could be married, or I had a failed friendship, so I guess I will be alone. Things like that. But no, I think maybe just look at them as chapters in your book.
Yeah.
You know, that chapter is closed. It didn't go away. It wasn't erased. It's part of your history. But it's like anything else. It builds on it. You know, you wouldn't want that preceding chapter to be your whole book. You want to build on it. So at the end of your life, you can look back and you've got a lot of rich chapters that culminated in this wonderful life that you've led. So I think a lot of it is the way you look at the challenges, and the way you define. You say this so many times in your Come Back Stronger groups that you do on Facebook. You talk about, is this really a failure, or is this, I like to call it's an opportunity making a bad first impression.
Yeah.
You just got to look at it a little bit differently. But you talk about that all the time, and taking so-called failures and turning them into opportunities to learn and grow.
Well, so, and I'll give you an example in JaQuesha's case. She could have taken that scenario and it could have really defeated her.
She could have quit school.
A lot of people would have quit school. A lot of people would have not continued on the path that they were on.
And it's so hard to go back
So
once you
those
quit.
stories end up in tragedy. That's a tragedy, and you hear about tragedies all the time. But what she did, because of her will and determination and persistence, she turned her story into a triumph.
Yes, she
and
did.
the triumph is always overcoming challenges. You don't get a great story unless you overcome some major challenges.
Yeah.
That's what I love about her so much. Yeah.
And think about the authenticity she's going to have as a professional.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I always think about that. For years, women would say, it's really hard to go to a male gynecologist. That guy I know has not had my experience,
Right.
But here, she could go into that. She could go into any sort of thing where you need to look at somebody and go, really? I mean, is this out of a book, or do you really know what you're talking about? She's going to be able to walk her talk no matter what, and she's going to be able to help a lot of other people. Again, you can't minimize the fact that she went through this during COVID.
Right.
You don't have that whole parade of people going to the hospital, balloons, everybody waiting on you when you get out. A lot of people go in there alone or very limited with the support that they get. So this was very big girl adult stuff.
Oh yeah.
On top of everything else she had already taken on, and she's just one impressive young woman.
Yeah, she is an example of what can be done if you have major obstacles or challenges to overcome. And that's what we're all about. We're all about facing obstacles, overcoming them, and coming back stronger. So we are going to come back next week with another episode of Come Back Stronger, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah.
And you know what the insurance company offered him? $5,000.
Really?
He's completely blind, and they offer him $5,000. Ask him to sign a release.
To a lot of people, especially when they're hurting and when they're down and when they're vulnerable, $5,000 is a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at the value of what has been lost. They're not looking at what it would take to make that person whole, which is our job.
Yeah.
That's our job. Their job isn't. Their job is to save the insurance company money.
Right.
And they look at this person and they go, I bet $5,000 would get your full attention. Right. And they come in and they dangle it with a settlement release, and then once you sign it, you're done. You can't come back to us and ask us to wave a magic wand and make that go away. That can't go away.
My client didn't accept the $5,000. We took him all the way to trial. We got a $5 million verdict.